Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres, and it's Friday night. It's like 9:30, and the sun's just going down. We had a great day today, and before things go too far, I want to talk about water systems and this water system that I just put in. We've had several different types of water systems, and I think we've hit one that I want to share because it's really good. I think it will work whether you're in chicken tractors or you're in a barn, or even if you have a chicken yard. Okay, here's my tractor operation. I got 5 going so far, and this is Memorial Day weekend, so it's end of May. There's 75 in each one, so there's about 400 out here. And then in the barn, in the clear span, I have another 5 that are going to go out this weekend, and another 750 that we just got today. All right, but let's talk about this water system. I'll try and show you it. See that red drinker right there? Now, it's about 6 inches in diameter, and you might be thinking, well, that's kind of small for 75 birds. Well, it isn't if it's full all the time. And you can see there's a 1/4-inch line going to it, a little barb fitting on the top. I'll go in the barn, I'll show you all that stuff. But let me take you around the back and show you how it's hooked up. See, that 1/4-inch line comes out the back of the tractor, and it comes over to this manifold. And this manifold is a little barb fitting that fits in there. Well, it leaks a little bit when I'm moving it around, but not too bad. Doesn't really matter. And this manifold is 100 feet long. Each tractor's 10 wide, so I can get 10 tractors on each manifold, 100-foot section of manifold. It's 1/2 inch, it's fairly supple, but the 1/4-inch line that goes to the tractor, that's very supple, and it's not prone to kinking, which is very important. All right, now water systems is probably the most important thing in pastured poultry. It really is. These birds can go for a day without any food, and they'll be fine. They won't like it, but they'll be fine. But without water, they don't do well at all. They really got to have that water all the time. And they're kind of like school kids. You know, if you let them all go to the bubbler at the same time, none of them are going to get a drink, and they'll all get wet. And that's kind of how it works out. So if we have water in front of them all the time, they're drinking constantly, and they're all staying hydrated. The other system that we had was just a drinker that you'd buy at Farm and Fleet. You fill it up 5 gallons of water. You have to do it twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, because you come out and it's empty. But the thing is, you come out, it's empty, you put water in it, and the birds freak out. They all have to get water at the same time. You get wet birds. You get wet birds in the evening like this, and then you have dead birds in the morning. That's just the way it is. So then we went to an automatic system. There's a Bell water, and there's several different companies that make them. We had them for about 4 years, and they were okay, but they were prone to clogging. They're heavy, and you have to have a bucket on top of them, on top of the chicken tractor, and then you come out with a tank or a hose or something and fill that bucket twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day when it's really hot. So it takes a lot of time to do that. If you're running 5 tractors, it's going to take you probably better part of a 1/2 hour to load your tank, put it on some sort of vehicle, get out here, and then bucket it, or if you're savvy enough to have some sort of hose and pump system, you know, it's still going to take you 1/2 hour. And in a farmer's life, a 1/2 hour twice a day or 3 times a day, that's too much, especially if there's a way to get around that. So with this manifold and the drip lines and the waterer, you just hook it up to system pressure on the farm or at your house, which would be a hose. It's normally about 50 pounds, PSI, pounds per square inch. And what we did, I'll show you this when we go in, is we used a pressure regulator that you can get from a company by the name of Dripco. If you Google that, you can find this company and you can buy all kinds of drip irrigation stuff. Really cool stuff. The line's really cheap. The manifold line's really cheap. And I'll show you the parts when we go in here. And then we married that to a waterer that I found at Stromberg. And they've been pretty good suppliers of poultry stuff, so you might want to look them up. The water is made by a company named Little Giant, and I really like them because it's a U.S. company. They're over in Wisconsin, and it's kind of dark in here now, isn't it? But it looks like this. That's the water. See, the drinking cup is about 6 inches in diameter. So it holds about a quart, but it fills on its own. And that valve right there is really nicely made. It's machined out of brass. Really well made. And it's got a filter in it on the top, a screen to keep it from getting clogged. Then I got this fitting right here from Dripco. It's got a barb fitting on the side that will accept a 1/4 inch line. And that screws right into the top of this thing. Right? And then I put a plug on the top of it, right on top of there, and that plug was just a PVC plug, and then I drilled it and put an eye in there. And then that's what I used to hang it, and then you snake the water line down to it, and you're in business. It's got one little adjustment on it. I had to adjust them a couple of times until I figured out how they worked. And I've had them in place for, I think, 3-4 days. And I can tell you, I know if something's going to work or not, and these things are going to work fine. Some of the pitfalls, do not use clear plastic line. Clear plastic line will let the sunlight in and they'll algae up. And that's what will plug. Definitely use a reducer, a pressure reducer. The one that I got from Dripco was $5. Here's some of the parts. I want to show you some of these parts. The pressure reducer, it looks like this. All right, so you just screw it on, right on the end of your hose. $5. This one's got a screen in it to keep particles down. And then to hook in the 1/4 inch line into the manifold line, you use this thing right here. It's like a little hole punch. And then once you make your little hole, you push one of these into it, and it pushes in and it goes pop, and then you put the line on the end of it. Hardly leaks with 25 psi. And if you have water in front of these birds all the time, you're going to avoid a lot of problems, like say hot days, and we know what that's like. Hot day, you go out there at just afternoon and they're out of water and you find birds that are dead. And that's happened to us too many times. Along that note, usually in the summertime you have a few days when it's just wicked hot. And what you want to do, if you know that's coming and you're out in the open, let's say that's where you happen to be with your tractors, there's no shade. Well, of course, the awning over the tractor or some sort of top on the tractor will give them some shade. But sometimes it's just not enough. What we have found is a good thing to do is get out in front of the tractors with a pressure washer. I have a gasoline-powered pressure washer. It's makes like 4,200 psi. And I get out in front of them and just mist them, from 20 feet or so. You don't want to put it too close to them, you'll cut the bird in half. But you just mist them and it creates kind of a microclimate around them, and the birds get wet and it has a cooling effect on them. And last summer we did not have any tragedies We've been doing this for 10 years, and we've had a tragedy just about every year. It's just part of the game. And that seems to be the answer. I just thought of it one day, did it, and we avoided a lot of trouble. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Okay, that thing is made by Little Giant. Endorse them 100% because it's going to save you time. It's going to save you stress on your birds, which is something that you want to avoid at all costs. You don't want to stress these birds out. You just don't. And we'll talk about coccidiosis at another time, but that's kind of a protozoa that will attack the bird as soon as they get stressed out, and lots of things can do that. Thunderstorms can do it, lack of water can do it, loud noises. There was a good question on the last one that we did, and it was, how do we move the tractors? And maybe I'll get a chance to show you that tomorrow, but you definitely want to do that by hand. You don't want a tractor there or a pickup or anything like that, because the birds, you know, their little brains can only process so many things. So they get used to seeing me, they get used to seeing our dogs, and that's it. They don't need the loud noises of a tractor. Plus, when you are moving the tractors, there is a tendency to get a bird caught behind it. And if you have a tractor running, you won't hear them squawk. If you're doing it by hand, though, you will hear them, and then you'll know, stop. It's kind of nice if you have a kid helping you and they can kind of shoo the birds as you're walking them back. And some guys use a dolly under there, kind of like a moving dolly. We just make skids that go on either side. Let me show you our old system of watering. This is it. We used these for about 5 years, and I designed these. It's just a piece of PVC pipe, schedule 40, with an end cap on, you know, eyelets to hang it, and then a float valve in there. And we'd plumb it in with a 1/4-inch line. You can see we were using clear plastic line, but it'll algae up real bad on you. And the only way to deal with the algae is to get some vinegar in the lines. So we'd have to do that several times a season, and it would break big chunks loose. They'd wind up stuck in the valves, and then you'd either overwater or underwater. So the lines that we're using now are brown. The light's not going to get through that, and I'm thinking that we're going to put an end to those problems. All right, let's see. Oh, a watering system like this is called a closed watering system. And the reason that you like to have a closed watering system is because you don't want to introduce anything else into their water supply but pure, fresh, you know, well water, or if you're in town, city water. I don't know how fluoride works with birds. Maybe makes them passive. I don't know. Keeps their teeth, their beak healthy. I don't know, never done it. But that's the benefit of having a closed system. The water that's delivered to them is, you know, we run it through screens and a filter, so it gets to them in a good way. These cups don't have very much water in them, so they're not prone to algae growth. You know, the birds are cycling the water out very quickly. If you had a 5-gallon pail sitting there, not only would they jump in it and drown themselves, you have all that water to grow algae in it. You want to keep all your watering stuff cleaned. Like with these, every week or so we'll just go out and swap them out with clean ones that have been cleaned and sanitized in our butcher shop where we have hot water. I guess that's it for watering. You know, there's a lot of aspects of pastured poultry, and I probably don't want to deliver too much at a time. So that's the watering system. Very important. Oh, let's talk dollars on this. Those waterers were $27 a piece. We load these tractors 5 times a season, 75 birds each. So do the figuring yourself, what it would take you to load up a trailer or a pickup truck with a tank of water, get it out here, take a half an hour of your time watering all your birds, twice or 3 times a day. Figure out the time. Depends what you're worth, what you pay yourself, but figure out what that is. Now for me, let's say I pay myself 20 bucks an hour, which is what we figure. If I spend an hour and a half a day watering my chickens, I've pretty much can completely plumb one of my tractors a day for my time. So it works out pretty well for me to spend the money and buy these waters. Plus this little giant deal, I have a feeling that that thing's going to last for a lot of years. It just looks like a very durable piece of equipment. Also the equipment that you'll get from Dripco, it's top notch. I mean, we use it for Skeeter. We use it for drip irrigation in our garden and in our produce field, and been using it for a lot of years. It's good stuff. It's cheap. You can use it year after year after year. The parts are interchangeable. I can't say enough about that drip irrigation stuff. And now you're starting to see it in retail stores. I got some at Home Depot not too long ago. All right, well that's it. We're going to be working on chicken tractors tomorrow. We've got to get 5 other ones. You know, we go through them, kind of do a little maintenance on them before we put them out on the field. And we need 5 more ready tomorrow by the close of business to get some 4-week-old birds out on the field. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow, and I'll try to answer some of the questions that are in the remarks section there. And if I forget some of them, I'll try and get to them. But this is good, better than talking about the other stuff that we were talking about before. Oh, by the way, this coming Saturday is going to be Pig Day. It's going to be open house here at the farm, and we want everybody to come and get their pigs for their DNR certified pigs. So if you want to reserve some, give me a call. Let me know what your intentions are. But we've got 100 of them, and right now we only have about 15 people that want pigs. So I'm sure there will be plenty for everybody. All right, this is Mark, Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm.